we doing? All right?
Hello, mate.
Good to
How are
see
you?
you, mate. Good to see you again. Our usual Wednesday rendezvous.
Yeah.
How have you been? All right? Keeping well?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah, your first time ever. You've finally spoken beforehand about not coming in and matching outfits.
Yeah, he texted me early doors this morning, so I made sure that I wasn't.
Matching.
Yeah.
Well,
He's been running around shops like a madman.
Yeah.
It's cold out there. I had to go and buy a jumper. This is a new jumper. I had
Oh,
to go
yeah?
and buy something.
Yeah. Was everywhere shut, was it? And that's all that was available?
Freezing. Yeah. Well, that would do, yeah.
Obviously, fantasy football. What do you guys do now when it's international break? Because you're our fantasy football experts. What do you do with yourselves?
Just lock ourselves away, I think.
Yeah. Well, no, you have one eye on the next break, but you also have to look at the players that you think they're picking and who they're playing, sort of what they're doing over the international break as well.
Oh, so the international break, you will follow it for Premier League form almost?
Absolutely, yeah. Injuries, form, players that are out of form that could even use the break playing for their countries as a way of getting back into form for their club as well. So
injuries like broken bums if you're Mario Gomez and stuff like that. That kind of thing, right? Exactly. That kind of thing.
Spot on.
I do think we have a couple of clips. Obviously, this is you're going to be with us every Wednesday now. I do think we have some of your tips, shall we call them, from last week. Let's see how you got on. Let's have a look.
here we go.
Bored of talking about Adam Lallana so far this season. He's just been superb, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, and I think that's partly down to Klopp. But I mean, just the positions he's getting himself into at the moment is fantastic, and that's 2 assists and 1 goal in 1 game week, and at only 7.2 million as well. So
yeah, and he
absolute snip still.
The fours, get him in there. They're going to get you points.
Looking ahead to the weekend, is Stephen Defoe, you're thinking more of a long-term solution? Obviously, this weekend, Arsenal at home is going to be a tough game, but still very cheap, 6 million. You think if you keep him in for the remaining 30-odd games of the season, he's going to be a good player for you?
Yeah, it's I mean, Arsenal, they do look strong. They're a side that you never really know what could happen. You know, Burnley could nick a win, but I highly doubt it.
Well, I mean, you came off all right from that.
As usual.
Yeah,
How did you get on?
I apologise to anyone that were watching last weekend and then listened to what I said and actioned on it because it was terrible.
You said Adam Lallana, he got injured. He got injured inside the first half. Yeah. And Stephen Defoe, he did absolutely nothing. And then you said
he'll get you points, won't he, Stephen Defoe?
Stephen Defoe, he's a points machine, isn't he?
Any consolation, I didn't put him in my team.
Funnily enough, neither did I.
Professional sabotage.
That's it.
You came off all right. You said Burnley weren't going to beat Arsenal. You were
just about, yeah.
Yeah, just about spot on in the 94th
Very
minute.
Controversially and last minute.
Well, I think next Wednesday maybe you've got a chance to make up some points on that.
Hopefully, yeah.
Let's hope so. Let's look forward to this international break and one man in particular who is Romelu Lukaku, who is almost different to all other players and, like you say, uses the international break to really get himself back into nick for his club. So I think we've got a little graphic of Romelu here. I was about to call him Romy, like we were mates there, and I went for Romelu. We don't know each other. So here we go. This is before the international break. This is the last international break. He was no goals. City's come back, 4 in 2 and an assist, 29 points in the same amount of games. Because he went away in the meantime and scored some goals for Belgium as well.
He scored twice on the break, and I actually, on the back of that, I put him in my team, and then, like it shows there, the 2 games afterwards, he got 4 goals. He got a hat-trick against Sunderland. He's done all right since. He hasn't picked up points like that since then, obviously. Quite hard to follow, but it just shows the sort of effect that an international break can have on a player. If they get a good run of it with their team, and they've got, you know, some nice fixtures to play, get a couple of goals, nice boost of confidence, and you come back ready to score goals in the Premier League.
I think that's a key example of when you might have an international break. No one really likes the international break, but if you're keeping an eye on your players and the Premier League players and sort of seeing what they're doing for their countries, especially players that really haven't performed as much as you'd have hoped they would have done, keep an eye on them and sort of see what they're up to. Like anyone that was screwed on, like Jack here would have seen that. Lukaku sort of banged a couple in for Belgium after not doing anything for Everton, and then he might be a touch. Turns out he ended up delivering.
It's not the first time he's gone and done it either. He's scored a few goals for Belgium and then carried that form on for Everton as well. Does it work both ways? If you go and watch a player really struggle in an international break, but he's been doing fine for you in fantasy football, would you ever take him out based on that?
I think there's an argument too, definitely. It can definitely knock your confidence because obviously the playing for a Premier League side is massive. But I think the sort of weight that an international shirt puts on a player, if you don't perform, say you start in both games, and you really don't perform in both, and maybe you have a bit of a slip up, then it's going to knock your confidence going back into the Premier League. So it's definitely, if you want to win your league, it's vital to keep an eye on.
Would you ever let how far they've got to travel? Would that ever influence you? For example, I know as a Liverpool fan that Coutinho's not ever going to get back to like Friday night, or Friday morning, or Thursday night.
It's definitely worth considering because everyone goes on about. I mean, if you even go back to pre-season, everyone makes a big thing about how far clubs travel through pre-season. And then they make a prediction about how they're going to start the season, for instance. So if you've got a player that's only got, 2 weeks, if you've reduced that to, 10 days to 8 days, where they've got 2 games and they're flying on the other side of the world, there is a possibility he's going to come back, he's going to be a little bit tired. Might take him a couple more game weeks to really get going again. But I think the players that are playing in Europe are the ones that you've got to, that you're probably better off keeping an eye on.
Like I said, I think after the last international break, I know Alexis Sanchez had to fly to South America and back, played 90 minutes both times while he was out there. I think I'm right in saying that I went to it, but he did quite well on the return. So it's a tough one to call. If he's done well for his international side, the sort of adrenaline and form might carry you through, but it's a hard one to call.
And is the key not to make any subs until the very end of the international break as well? You still got to say the same rule of.
I would say don't make any decision until at least 48 hours before the deadline for the game week, because you might get a player that will come back injured, but no one will know that he's injured until the club announce it, or the press conference happens the day before, 48 hours before, and the manager will go, oh yeah, he's come back, he's got a slight knock, probably won't start. So there's no point making any changes until you really know.
And it can be tempting that when if you love fantasy football like I do, you get a bit of an itchy finger, like I've not tweaked anything.
Got nothing to do for 2 weeks. It's a hard one.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely after an international break is one of the ones where you leave it to the last minute possible, so you've got everything. Because a player could come back injured, like Jay said, or could come back fully fit, but having played a lot.
The club, the manager might leave him on the bench or something.
Yeah, which Coutinho actually does a fair bit for Liverpool as well. Let's have a look at some of the England players to watch. Here we go. So these guys, what have you made of their respective seasons? I mean, all 3 of them haven't necessarily reached their usual heights.
I think like Lukaku, we've picked out, with all the guys we're going to talk about tonight, we've picked out guys that haven't really got going so far, but could use this international break to sort of kickstart their season. And I think all 3 of them are prime examples, really.
Talk us through those. I mean, Danny Sturridge, he's been in and out of the Liverpool side, but is it one where you think if he goes and bangs a couple in for England, there'll be a bit of a clamour from Liverpool fans for him to play up front come next weekend?
Yeah, I think everyone knows that Sturridge hasn't had the best start of the season, but Southgate has called him up, kept a little bit of faith in him in the England squad, and I get the feeling he'll probably get a lot of game time over the next couple of...
You think he will?
I think he will. I mean, a lot of people would rather... I mean, Kane's out, so that's one striker down. So you got... Vardy's not really doing it for Leicester either, so Sturridge is in prime position to really sort of get a couple of starts under his belt. Gets a couple of starts, nicks a couple of goals, then Klopp's going to be sitting there going, well, I could use him. Yeah. And then he could do what Lukaku did on the last international break and then go on and start scoring for Liverpool.
Wazza, I mean, it can't go much worse for England than it's been going for Manchester United, can it?
He needs a big old confidence boost, doesn't he? And I think, being that Southgate's shown faith and kept him as captain, he's going to start. So, Malta and Slovenia are the teams we should be doing well against. So if he gets in, he mucks in, he has a good game wherever he plays. He said he's happy to play wherever. So, which I rate. He will play where he's asked. But if he has a good game, then it gives something for Mourinho to think about.
I think the key for Rooney is that he needs to score some goals as well, doesn't he? And the final guy got a call up to the England squad. A bit of a surprise call up. It was. How much of a boost you think a first England cap could be for him?
Well, I think with Lingard, I had a small inkling that he would get called up. As soon as Southgate was announced that he'd be interim manager at England, I thought, he'll get, because he loved him at under 21 level. Yeah. And he's just sort of broken into the Mourinho team, and anyone playing on the Mourinho it suggests that you're doing pretty well. You've got a little bit about you. So, and I think although it says there he's got 1 assist in 3 appearances.
He's only started 1 game, I think.
He's only started 1 game. An international call-up, 2 very, very good games at that level could really propel him into a completely new...
Yeah, a limelight he's not seen before. He's always been bit in and out.
So, yeah.
Some players that were potentially could use the international break as a chance to find some club form. There's a lot of players in the Premier League that could do with a bit of a boost. You've got some more for us here as well, who we're hoping will score some points over the international. There we go. Josh King, Shane Long, Wilfred Boney, Antonio Martial, Yannick Bolasie, Riyad Mahrez. Let's look around. None of them really setting the Premier League alight. Josh King, first of all, for Norway. If you looked at the fixtures there of Azerbaijan and San Marino, I've gone, surely...
Yeah.
He's got to get off the mark, hasn't he?
He's an exciting player, and he came off the bench and scored against Watford for Bournemouth last week, which was... I think they should have won really, but it was a big point for them. But yeah, I think, he gets a couple of goals against either of them. He should probably score about 6 against San Marino, really, being a Premier League player. But we see how that goes. And then they've got Hull at home, so it could be a game where he could have a real impact.
Yeah, the fixtures here are the really interesting stuff to look at. Shane Long, you and I have talked on this show a lot about our love of Shane Long. We've ruined him. We jinxed him.
It hurts me so far. We were talking about this earlier, that everyone has that sort of one player that they've just got an undying love towards. And I think we share that in Shane Long.
I do love Shane Long, exactly.
I just don't get it.
Well, based on the season so far, maybe that's quite a fair point, to be fair. But obviously he'll go away with Ireland, and he'll probably get in the Ireland team. GOR, who's GOR?
Georgia and Moldova.
Georgia and Moldova, and then Burnley at home out the back of it as well. So similar to Josh King, and quite a nice grouping of fixtures there.
Very good chance to pick up a couple of goals against either of them, and then Burnley at home is a game we should win. Hopefully we will. But.
Speaking of underperforming strikers, this man looks disinterested so far at Stoke City, Wilfred Bonny. I mean, is the international break enough for him, or is he going to? Does he need to see a shrink in the international break?
I think the international break's probably come at the right time for Bonny. Done nothing for Stoke. I was actually gutted when Stoke beat us to, I think, West Ham were in for him as well. And I thought, we could have done with someone like Bonny, but having watched him for the last 4 games, I'm quite happy that we missed out on him.
Yeah.
Even if we did end up getting Zaza.
Although you can't get much worse. Later
on. But I mean, I think an international break at this time for Bonny is perfect because he can go away playing with familiar surroundings with his country and his teammates there, and maybe nab a couple of goals against Mali.
And if he can't score against Mali,
can't score against Mali, then you're in trouble, really. So, but yeah, I mean, he might come back after this, like Lukaku did, as we spoke about before. And you've got Sunderland at home. Sunderland aren't great defensively, so
Sunderland are one of the few teams that make Stoke look quite good this year.
Exactly.
Which takes some doing.
Yeah.
This guy, Anthony Martial, not only the international break, he might go and score some goals, but how big was it that he banged one in just before the international break as well?
Yeah, I think Mourinho came out and said he needed that a lot to give him a kick-start. He did really well last season. I think he scored about 17 last season. Great sort of introduction to the Premier League. But I think it's all come out today that he's had a split with his his partner, his daughter's mum, which all the coaches at United think could be the reason behind his sort of drop in form. So I think maybe going away, back in with the French squad, they should really do well against Bulgaria and the Netherlands. They've been out of sorts for a couple of years now, so a good chance for them to get some goals.
Although that fixture when he comes back looks tough, Liverpool away, it's for Man United for a game where they're going to be right up for it, and also return to the scene of the crime where he burst onto the scene in the Premier League last season and scored his first goal for Man U.
Exactly, we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? He loves a goal in a big game, so it could be the perfect stage for him to come back and sort of show, I'm still here.
And Liverpool aren't keeping clean sheets at the moment either. Yannick Bolasie, who is, £30 million he went to Everton, and a few question marks raised when that. His numbers have never been great. That's the problem, I think, for a lot of people. But they thought maybe a club like Everton, who are expecting a good season, they might be a bit better. He's going to go away. He'll play for Congo. Do you think Kenya and Libya are just a chance for him to go and play against non-Premier League opposition? Let's be honest, and just boost his morale a bit, really.
I think with Bolasie, they spent so much money on him that if he doesn't perform week in, week out, he's going to have his critics. I mean, if he'd have gone for like 15 million, people would be like, oh, same old Bolasie at Palace. But That's put him into a complete different limelight now. Everyone goes on about how he's a YouTube, he's a showreel player, but he needs to prove everyone wrong with that. And I think an international break could do that. Playing Kenya and Libya, you'd expect him to at least try and perform against those two countries.
Although Victor Wanyama for Kenya could shut him down.
Oh yeah,
Big man.
He left
Unless
Southampton.
Wanyama goes out into the wide areas, I don't think he's going to do that.
Wanyama will go where Wanyama pleases.
On and off the pitch.
Still love him. I still love him.
You still love Wanyama at Southampton. That's nice to hear. The final one, just quickly, Riyad Mahrez. I mean, his form's almost indicative of the whole of Leicester at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, he was very, very quiet against Saints on Sunday. As with the whole side, I think Vardy just looked a shadow of the player of last season. But so do the whole side. They don't look creative. They're so one-dimensional, which they were last season, really, but it worked last season.
I mean, the interesting thing with this international break for the Leicester players that are going is that, in a way, that's like the Premier League's almost too much for them this seson. Oh, I don't know why we've got a great... It was so funny that we felt the need to show a greasy kebab. no idea what that's popped up. But Riyad Mahrez, like Leicester City at the moment, they seem the Premier League a bit shell-shocked almost by it this year. Like they know they can't recreate. And the Champions League games seem like a welcome break for the Premier League.
It's
Do you
strange.
think the international break could be the same thing for some of their players?
It could be. I mean, they feel like a promoted side, don't they, in the Premier League, whereas they're off playing Champions League every other week and absolutely smashing it in that, which is really nice to see. I mean, they created nothing on Sunday, which was, you go to the home of the champions, you expect a bit of a game. Saints should have won, should have scored, but didn't. But yeah, I think it could be treated the same way. They all want to play for their country, like they want to represent Leicester in the Champions League. So the emotional lift could, especially Mahrez, could give them a bit of a...
I think with Mahrez as well, I mean, he took the Premier League by storm last year, and everyone was expecting him to do it this year. Given that Leicester were champions, everyone...
When you were young as well, I don't think they expect you to just... They expect you to go one better every year for the next few years,
especially if you just won the Premier League as well. Everyone goes, right, okay, you've got to go and do it again.
Yeah.
And he hasn't so far. I mean, he missed a penalty on the opening day of the season, and but I think eventually, I mean, he's shown it in the Champions League already this year. He will come good. He's definitely one to watch, and as you said, I think an international break where he can just go away with his country.
Yeah.
The only problem is they're playing Chelsea away. I mean, Chelsea, I know they're not a lot of people are that convinced with them yet, but Leicester going to Chelsea away is a little bit dodgy. But I think throughout the season, Mahrez will eventually get people points.